Bienvenidos y buenas tardes y bienvenidos. This is about the only Spanish that I know. I'm sorry for that. This talk is going to be in English, and we're here to talk about apprenticeship programs. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's start with thanking our sponsors and the organizers who put together this wonderful event. Alfredo, take it away. No? Yes, it does.
Okay, a few months ago I was in another conference. I was talking with this chubby ghost, which probably most of you know him. He mentioned me, he pointed me out to this blog post from Uncle Bob that he says that every 5 years the number of developers doubles. So that means that we have more and more people joining the industry, so more junior people, right?
Not working. We're going to get rid of this because it's not working. And on Tuesday, I was at a conference in London where I think his name is Baris Hatter, who is a developer advocate for Red Hat. He shared this piece of information with us from the MIT Sloan Management Review that only % of organizations across industries indicated that their existing in-house talent has the competitive skills necessary for success in the digital economy. So this shows that we are faced with two problems as an industry. So the first one being that as companies, we are struggling to find senior people or skilled people to help us solve our problems. And as professionals, we cannot find suitable companies to help us grow.
So we think probably one solution for this could be having apprenticeship programs on your companies. So that's our goal is try to make more companies having their own apprenticeship program. And for that, we're going to share our experience, and so maybe it helps you or inspires you. But this is our experience for what we need in Codurance, but it might be very different for what you need. So this is the agenda, what we are going to talk about. We try to give it at some points 2 points of view, like the point of view of an apprentice and the point of view of the teacher and coordinator of the apprenticeship. And we are going to talk about what it is, some techniques that we use, the process, the evaluation, and some challenge and learnings that we found.
Okay, so let's present ourselves first. So my name is Solange. I've been in the industry for about 9 years as a Java developer mainly. And about 3 and 4 years in my career, I was working for this healthcare product company. We were building a product that I was really passionate about, but the code base was very, very painful to work with. It had grown to such a big ball of mud, and it was proving to be very, very difficult to maintain and to evolve. And year after year, we would talk about how we were going to address the technical debt and how we were going to maybe throw it away and start over again, but that never happened, of course. And so many times I thought about switching companies, but I still really liked the domain. I really, really liked the domain, and also friends from across the industry were telling me that they were faced with the same problem. So the grass was not greener on the other side. And then I turned to an open source project, which is OpenLMIS. I don't know, you may have heard of it. It's a logistics management information system for medical facilities in low resources areas across the globe. And it's developed by a distributed team using agile processes, things that I had never ever heard of. And when I looked at the code base, I really liked what I saw. I saw, good designs and separation of concerns, all these kind of things that I wanted to be doing. And so 2 or 3 months later, I saw this message posted on a Slack group channel, talking about apprenticeship programs at Codurance. So I clicked on there, and I liked what I read, and kind of, what this tweet is about, that what I saw, even though I was not living in London at the time, I was actually in another country, I didn't think twice. I thought, this is the way I want to be working, this is what I want to be learning. So I moved to London, I applied to the apprenticeship program and moved to London, which is where I met Alfredo. And I believe you all know who Alfredo is, isn't it? Who doesn't know Alfredo? For sure. You see? No one. I mean,
I have many friends in here, but so for those that doesn't know me, I'm Alfredo. I'm from Barcelona, but I'm working in London in Codurance with Solange. And Solange tell an anecdote, so I was jealous, and I'm going to tell another anecdote for myself. This is my CV, but I'm not looking for a job. But I wanted to show you, early in my career, I was working in this company, and I decided to quit. And it was the beginning of the financial crisis in Spain, so it took me a while to find something that I like. So I spent 4 months. I went a lot to the beach this summer, but also I studied a lot. I was going to the library in the mornings, and in the afternoons I was working on a pet project with some friends. I focused on learning software design, a lot of domain-driven design, but also ASP.NET, MVC. And these 4 months, they changed my career completely. Because, for example, when I joined Pasiona afterward, in 6 months, it was early on my career. I had like 2 years and a half, 3 years of experience, and they put me as an architect in a pretty big project. I wasn't ready at all for it, but this opportunity was given to me because of these months I spent learning, and I definitely learned a lot by having in this project. But even another year later, I joined Plain Concepts. And I remember my first week in Plain Concepts, one colleague of mine was supposed to give a training on ASP.NET MVC, but he went really sick. So they asked me, and I went for it. I will always remember that training. It was for Hispavista. I don't know if you remember Hispavista. But after that, I've given 30 trainings maybe, and that's also because of these 4 months of sabbaticals. And because of that, I improved a lot, and I learned the skill of teaching, which also helped me a lot during my career.
So, going back to our problems, we cannot find senior people, but as professionals, we cannot find senior companies. So,
why don't we find senior people? Who is looking for people? Whose company is looking for people? And are you struggling to find people? Why? What skills are people missing that you can find? Are you not finding good full stack developers or functional programmers or people that do TDD?
So our proposed solution is hire them and then teach them. And it has changed my life because, for example, a year ago, had I wanted to join Codurance, I would not have passed the interview process because I'd never done TDD before. I hardly ever knew what agile processes were about, let alone extreme programming, so I definitely would not have passed that interview. But they saw the potential, and they hired me, and they invested in, training me. So, what is an apprenticeship program? So, well, if you do a quick search on the internet, you'll find many different definitions. So no one agrees, and depending on your, context, your requirements, you might have an idea of what an apprenticeship program looks like for you. What we would like to do today is share what it looks like at Codurance. So the apprenticeship program at Codurance is 3-4 months paid program, and it is mainly for people with industry experience. So we do not, generally speaking, we don't hire graduates, but we have made exceptions when we've met very good potential. And each group is composed of maximum and ideally 6 people. And it's taught by from 6 to 10 teachers, depending on who's available, given client engagement. So, we did have a problem with the name, apprenticeship. So, for example, as I said earlier, I was in Belgium when I heard about it. I didn't know what an apprenticeship meant. I'd heard of internship, but not apprenticeship. And in the UK, usually apprenticeship programs are for school leavers or unemployed people. And so you can imagine people who have extensive experience in the industry will not necessarily feel compelled to join such a program. And so we even had a long discussion about, should we change the name? Should we call it something else? We had a long debate about this, but we still haven't decided yet. And so we still call it an apprenticeship program. Yeah.
What is a senior anyway? I think that will be different for every company too. Some people look at the years of experience, or some other people look at some skills or others. So we're going to talk about what we need, what skills we need in Codurance. That again might be very different from the ones you need on your company. So what we teach in the apprenticeship program is about the culture we have in Codurance, the way we work in Codurance, and the minimum knowledge and skills that we need for the projects we have. So this, I really like this chart. I have to apologize for the marketing, but this is more or less what we teach. These are our values are composed by the values of Agile, software craftsmanship, STEM programming, and DevOps. And then these are the services we do, so these are the skills we need, right? So this is what we teach on our apprenticeship program. By the way, I want to mention Pedro, because Pedro was our employee before he created his own company, and he started this apprenticeship program, and it's really, really good.
Yes. So the content, so it's the program is made of 9 modules. So week 0, we call week 0, is the week where we welcome apprentices and we tell them about the Codurance culture, and we organize some kind of optional activities. You know, we encourage them to be proactive and approach other people in the company, start pairing sessions. We tell them about software craftsmanship. And then week 1, this is where we get into the core of the program. We teach classic TDD, you know, and then week 2 is about design, the 4 rules of simple design, design patterns, and solid principle. Week 3, we look at outside in TDD. So we learn about techniques like CRC cards, sequence diagrams, and how to test drive your implementation from the outer layer of your application. Week 4 is about legacy code and techniques on how to refactor legacy code. Week 5, macro design. We talk about building blocks of DDD. We talk about architecture, like layered architecture, microservices, and hexagonal architecture. Week 6, we look at database. And this is where we teach, we look at relational databases or document databases. What are the main differences? When is it best suited to use one or the other? Week 7, client-side web development, my favorite one, because, well, it's web, JavaScript, it's web, you know, yeah. And then week 8, this is where we look at agile processes, as it says, and then they start preparing for the project, which will last for about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And that's about the content. So how do we do this?
We try to teach as close as our work with real projects will be. So the apprentices learn as a team. So I will say 70% of the time they are pairing or moving. So it's all about collaboration and self-organization. On week 0, that Solange mentioned about culture, for example, we try to focus a lot on that, and we give them a lot of free time, and we suggest different activities, but they need to choose what they want to do. We told them to ask other people on the company for pairing sessions, so they need to start knocking on doors and start moving. So we really encourage them to ask any question, there is no dumb questions. It's a safe environment to learn. That we put a lot of focus on that. We also do some team building activities. So, for example, with the current group of apprentices, we ask them to choose a name for the group, but then they need to ask questions between each other to know each other better, and then pick the name of the group and things like that. They also need to run retrospectives during the course, so they improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are going to look at some of the techniques that we use to do this. The first one is we apply the Dreyfus model of skill acquisition, where when you're a novice learning a skill for the first time, you are given a set of strict rules that you have to apply. You don't think, you just have to apply. And then as you start learning the skill and practicing more and more, you get to know when the rules are, work or don't work. And sometimes, with practice again, you come up with your own rules. And you get to the point where you internalize those rules so much that this is at the expert level, that they become like intuition. So given a context, you just know how to do things. It may seem like it's very intuitive, and this is sometimes the difficulty of, if you've ever talked to someone who's an expert on a subject and asked them how they do things or why they did it that way, they are unable to tell you why, because it's become so internalized that they don't remember actually about these rules. Yeah, so that's this, and the next one is you.
For example, some examples of very strict rules that we apply at some point are the transformation priority premise or object calisthenics. I really like them. If you don't know about them, I recommend you to look for them. So, for example, object calisthenics has rules like you cannot use elses on your code, or you can have more than one level of indentation, things like that. But also we do something that I think it's a very powerful learning technique, that is, we let them fail, then we teach them how to do it so they can compare and they can see the benefits. So, for example, we do that with object calisthenics, or we make them do an exercise. It's also on the first week, so they do very bad on the exercise. Then we give them these really strict rules to follow. That is not good to follow always, but in that case, we force them to follow. They struggle a lot, but they see how the code is much better this time, and I think it's a really, really powerful learning technique.
Yeah, another technique that we use is extreme learning. So this is an expression I'd never heard of before joining Cadurance, and I tried researching it on the internet. And if you're not doing machine learning, there's not a lot of resources about this. Maybe Pedro is the one who invented the expression.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've learned something today. Okay. So I like to see it as a divide and conquer applied to learning. So let's say you're going to teach a large topic. Let's say building blocks of DDD. That's a large topic. So what we usually do is we divide the topic amongst the group. So each apprentice will take maybe 1 or 2 building blocks, and they're going to research the subject. They're going to learn about the subject. And then after the allocated time has run off, they come together, and each apprentice will present and teach to the rest of the group what they've learned. And I find it to be a very, very good technique to cover such a large topic, but also to practice communication, presentation skills. I really like it a lot. Sorry. Yes, another one that we use, pairing matrix. So it looks like this. It's a grid with names of the apprentices on the horizontal axis and then names of the apprentices on the vertical axis. And each cell is an intersection between two apprentices and indicates the number of times that they have paired. So we encourage, of course, this encourages them to rotate pairs regularly. So for example, here you can see that Takuma and Ivan have paired 4 times. So each time they pair, they have to go and update the thing. So we find it a good technique because then they have regular rotations and it creates a good balance in the team and the knowledge is shared across the team.
Also, you can see that Takuma and Enrique hate each other. I'm going to talk with them on Monday. Another technique I really like, Francesco always uses it, and I pick it from him, is the perfection game. It's a feedback technique. So the idea is you have a solution that want to perfect. So you present to somebody, and they need to rate it from 1 to 10. And if they rate it with a 10, it means that they cannot improve it. They cannot make it better. But if they rate it with a 5, they need to give you what are the improvements that they will like to have for it to become a 10. So it's a really nice feedback technique and focus on improving something, not on just criticizing for the sake of criticizing. And I really like it, and we use it a lot. And let's talk a bit about the process.
So organization-wise, so we have the group of apprentices is usually spread across the offices, so Barcelona, London, and Manchester, but with one overall program coordinator role. It doesn't mean that it's only one person who's going to fulfill the role. It can be a group of people, but it's one role. And in between sessions or in between weeks, we have handovers between teachers to ensure that if there is any problem or anyone struggling on the team, these things can be spotted early enough and addressed as fast as possible.
So then we have the evaluation, right? The way we evaluate them is continuously. So this handover between teachers every week, we talk about how is it going. If there is some concern, we try to address it as soon as possible. And then at the end, they need to have some kind of evaluation. And what we do is tell them, again, they need to be proactive. So and they need to do the thing. So they need to find at least 4 people in the company that vote for them, that say, I would like to work with you. So they can ask 4 to 10 people how many they want, and usually the most common exercise is they pair with that person, and that person will say, yes, I like you, you're in, or not. But everybody in Codurance has its own style. For example, I have a colleague, Matsi, that what he does, he finds an issue on GitHub in some open source project, and they work together on trying to fix that issue. Or Vince, he will take the final project they did and start asking lots of questions about all the decisions they made and why. So everybody has its own style. But not everything is good. We find some challenges too.
So from an apprentice point of view, at least this was my personal experience when I joined Codurance. I had access to like a lot of resources, a lot of books, a lot of videos, a lot of articles and blogs to read. And I felt really overwhelmed. I had no idea on where to start from. And what helped me out was to talk to previous apprentices and ask them how they approach this, or even talk to anyone in the company, go to them and say, look, I'd like to know how do I go about this. And then once I found that starting point, The one thing that I realized was that learning became a habit. It's just something that you do continuously, every single day. It's an ongoing process. It's like a journey, not a destination. It's really a long road.
And another thing is you need to stop them sometimes because they already have lots to learn in the apprenticeship program, but they want to also learn Kotlin or quantum computing, and it's, wait. Focus on that, and when you finish, you can do something else.
Yeah. This is a superb resource, Learning How to Learn. It's a Coursera course, so it's very, very short. If you don't know about it, I would really recommend that you go and check it out because it gives you tools to, first of all, identify the kind of learner that you are, and then apply these tools to help you learn more effectively. And we recommend that the apprentices take this course before they start the program. It's really nice.
For me, I think the hardest thing for them, even for you as the teacher, is the first week, because most of them have never paired before, and it's really hard. Pairing is really hard at the first time. So in the first week, you need to be really careful and really on top of them and help them try to speak up what they're thinking so they can follow each other. I think this is one of the hardest things. So one thing I wanted to try with this current group was instead of starting pairing, is start with mobbing. But I haven't, because the group we have right now, it's amazing, and on week 0 they pair so much already, and they were working really well together. So I didn't need to try. But with the next group, I might try start with mobbing instead of with pairing. Everybody knows what's mobbing? Yes, yes, I suppose. Okay. Also, people come from every different background, especially in the UK. We have people from, so every apprentice is from a different nationality, there is all kind of ages, genders, backgrounds. There is JavaScript developers and .NET developers and Java developers.
Yeah, so diversity is amazing, of course, but in the beginning it can prove to be a challenge because when you have different levels of experience, you have different technical stacks. What we usually do is we find one common ground technology for the group. And as you saw in the content, what we teach is it's actually technology agnostic, so it doesn't really affect their learning. And if, for example, we decide that we're teaching in Java and someone comes from the JavaScript ecosystem, so we'll give them ample time to get up to speed. This morning, actually, Crystal, yeah. He talked about emotional intelligence, and this really resonated with me because sometimes what you get in a group is people who have excellent, technical skills, but what we call softer skills like, communication, emotional intelligence, they're maybe a way behind those who have those skills, and so. You might have someone on the group who has these very good soft skills, communication, consultancy, but their technical skills are a little bit behind. So having them working together, pairing all the time, and so they help each other out, and that's the way we found to find a good balance in the team. We encourage self-organization, of course, but with support.
Yeah, they need to help each other, but we are there in case something goes out of hands. We help them. Another thing we do is, because we do the apprenticeship between our 3 offices in Manchester, London and Barcelona, we teach remote. As both the apprentices are co-located, but also the teachers. Sometimes there is teachers from Barcelona, sometimes from London. At the beginning, there was a lot of people against it because, of course, if remote, everything is more difficult than in person, but we keep pushing for it because it will be very expensive. As Solange said before, we have 6 to 10 teachers during 3-4 weeks. If we multiply this by 3, it will be too expensive. So we keep pushing for it, I'm really glad of how well it's working. I think he can say.
Joseph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you gain the skill of working remote, which I think is also really good and really important. I want to. There is some tools that we use. So, for example, we use Miro.com a lot. It was called Real-Time Dashboard a few months ago, or Draw.io, or Memai.js for sequence diagrams. And a couple of anecdotes about this. For example, with Miro.com, the first time we used that, we used it for doing event storming. And I remember the apprentices in Barcelona put the screen on the projector, and they were collaborating with the projector. Even they were using an online tool, but and it was their idea and everything. It was great. But another thing I've done, and it's not for everybody. I think it's a bit, people say it's a bit crazy. Especially the first week, I want to listen what they're saying about, because they have problems communicating and pairing, so I want to hear them. And I have people remote, and so what I did was I had two different meetings, one in Chrome, one in Firefox, and I used this app and put the sound for Chrome on the left headset, the one for Firefox on the right headset, and I will listen both of them at the same time. When I wanted to focus on one of the groups, I will remove one of the headsets. It's a bit crazy, but it worked for me.
That's Alfredo for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So after all this talking about the process, what it looks like, we'd like to share what we have learned so far. Sorry. So, well, as an apprentice, I cannot emphasize enough how this program has changed my life. As you can imagine, the amount of knowledge that you gain, technical knowledge, is in such a short period of time, it is amazing. And that is on the side of what is quantifiable. Now there is the other side that I really struggle to put in words, because I don't know how to qualify that. It is being exposed to, we said 6 to 10 teachers. I think in my group we were taught by 8 teachers, and they all come from different backgrounds, different levels of experience, different technical stacks, and to be able to see all those approaches to solving problems, it was amazing. And most of the time, by the way, they don't even agree with each other. So that was really cool, because it shows you, it's entertaining, yes, but it also shows you that there's not always, you don't always have one way of doing things, and you are encouraged to be creative and come up with your own approach. So yeah, I really like that, and it has transformed my career. You'd have to go through it to understand, really.
I really wanted to do the apprenticeship program, but they didn't allow me, so I became the teacher. But it's very selfish, because I learn a lot by teaching the apprenticeship program. You learn a lot by preparing it, but you learn a lot from the questions. They ask you a million questions, and sometimes you need to stop to think, oh, what? And it makes emerging your deeper knowledge that. But also you learn a lot from watching them. So for example, when I'm able to pair in Java. I'm not a Java developer, and I learn Java from watching them. I'm learning Java from osmosis. But also they sometimes they come out with solutions that impress you. Wow, this is good. I haven't thought about this. But also I really like the bond you have with the apprentices. It's really nice. But also, you keep practicing teaching and mentoring, which is a really good and necessary skill, in my opinion, in the job we do every day. Then the apprentice becomes the teacher. So, for example, Solange now is teaching the apprentices, but not only that, she's teaching a Code Your Future, that it's some kind of bootcamp for refugees. but also she's a mentor for the Coursera training, Advanced Data Structures. So if you do this course and you're lucky, you might get Solange as a mentor.
Sure. And well, this would not have been possible, of course, if, when I started preparing the session for the apprentices, Alfredo was with me, he was walking with me, and when giving the session as well, he was present, so just in case, very safe environment. He's done it for me, but he's done it for other apprentices as well. When they graduate, they take over and then they teach the next cohort of apprentices. So yeah, it's like a trainer who trains the trainer, the future trainer, yes.
Yeah, I really like this circle of sharing and collaborating. Then, is it worth the money? Because it's quite a lot of money. We have 6 apprentices, let's say you are paying 6 salaries for 4 months. It's quite a big amount of money. So I don't have an answer for you. I think for Codurance it's really worth it because you cannot find, it's very difficult to find on the market. I don't like to call it the market, but it's difficult to find people with the skills we are looking for, or too expensive, but yeah, so I don't know. But I think it's really good because it's not only about the skills you learn, they also get, they really get into the values of the company, and I think that's a big problem for lots of companies, especially when they grow. Keeping the values of a company is very difficult, and I think the apprenticeship program helps a lot because you suddenly have 3, 4, 6 people, 6 new people that are really engaged with these values because they've been for 4 months practicing them every day. But not only that, I think it's really good, and it's one of the principles of software craftsmanship, right? I think it helps improve in the industry and maybe even the world,
Yes, and as we tie all this together, we started off talking about problems in finding senior people and problems for professionals finding companies where they want to grow. There really is demand for such programs, as you can see from this tweet. Yeah, we encourage companies to try it out. Try it out. Tell us how it goes. If your company has an apprenticeship program, or if you know any other company that has this program, we have set up a GitHub repository where we would like to share your experience, share your knowledge. We would like to make it a collaborative effort, so help us help the industry, Wow, okay. So yeah, that's we would like you to really try it out and then share with the rest of the people.
Yeah, I think not only Codurance has apprenticeship programs, I think at least Novoda and 8Light also have apprenticeship programs, but I'm sure there are more companies out there with apprenticeship programs that we don't know about. So if you know about it, go there, create an issue or a pull request, and we'll put something together soon.
Yes, together, yes.
We want also to thank you, some of our colleagues that they went through our presentation and they give us really good feedback, and also they are all, they are all from, they've been all apprentices on different groups. I think PJ was 2 years ago, Chris 1 year and a half, Chris and Sam 1 year and a half ago, and Ivan and David are from the current group. They work with Vic.
Yes.
We want to also thank you for being here, but also to the organization for this really great conference. I don't know if you have any questions. We have some time, so.
Yes, please. Give the microphone.
No.
Okay. Oh. I thought she was coming for you.
Do you Well, yeah, actually, I have a question that maybe you can answer as well. Thank you for the talk. Why do you focus on people with experience? Because when I was working at ThoughtWorks, and maybe Claire can confirm the thing, I think they focus more on junior people, and then so why do you think that's the difference? Because focusing on people with experience and taking them to the apprenticeship, or why ThoughtWorks take more people with a junior skill set and then make them make the apprenticeship program? So
Do you want to take this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
So many microphones. I think it depends a lot on the work we do. We are a consultancy company, so they call us when there is problems. So we don't feel very comfortable by hiring graduates because it's only 4 months. Sometimes for the work we do, you need more years. So you need real experience. So we usually don't hire graduates because of that, with exceptions. If we find somebody with lots of potential, we will go for it. For example, we had apprentices that were mathematics teachers or something like that, and these are really good addition to the group. So, yeah.
There's a question here as well.
So I was really intrigued when you said that at the end of the course you ask your apprentices to persuade 4 people to say that they would work with them, because that sounds like a really tough ask. That sounds like you're putting your apprentices into a very difficult position, potentially extremely stressful, and you're also, not everybody has those skills. So I mean, yeah, okay, so it's a skill that you can develop, but to say you have to now reach out to 4 people that you might not know very well, and you have to do a sales job on yourself, that some people are going to find that very difficult.
I can answer this. So, as we mentioned in the beginning, so week 0, when apprentices start during Kujurans, what we encourage them to do is reach out to everyone, get to know people, start pairing early in the process, so they get used to this, to pairing, to working with other people in the company. And so it is something that they practice throughout the program, and by the time they finish their project, they're actually really used to this, to walking to anyone in the company and asking questions, to say, I'd like to pair with you on this problem, because I like to maybe look into, distributed systems, and I don't know how to work on this. They're used to that. So asking them to say, okay, now I would like you to do maybe 4 final kata pairing, or having someone in the company say, I'd like you to explain to me how what your design decisions were on this project. It's not that stressful, because they've been doing it all along. So it's just really a final way of saying, okay, have they learned these skills? How is their TDD? How is their design? Is this someone you can board on your project, on your team, and continue to mentor? It's not that stressful, actually. Okay, go ahead.
For some people it's more stressful than for others. But if they fail, we usually give them more time, another 3 months and I think we never fired none of the apprentices because they didn't learn the skills. When they fail and we fired them, it was usually because of people problems. They were rude to their colleagues, or they were not collaborative, things like that. I think at least since I'm in Codurance, and we haven't fired anybody because they weren't able to learn the skills. We gave them more time and they ended up gaining them.
Yeah.
Which is more expensive.
I wanted to add that the apprentices are also encouraged to find a mentor outside the teachers group.
Oh yeah.
And then they are also encouraged to find pairing partners outside the apprenticeship team, so they will reach a lot of people and they will know a lot of people in the
Yes.
Yeah, the apprentices have, as he said, have a mentor, but now everybody in Codurance have a mentor, and they can reach to them and ask for guidance, and yeah, that's pretty good.
They have a lot of support, you know. We
And-
encourage proactivity, but they have a lot of support as well. Yes.
And in general, people in Codurance is pretty nice. So.
Yes, it's one big family. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks. It was really good, what you told us. I wanted to ask, like, you have anything for teaching the teachers? Because, you know, sometimes it's really difficult, especially if you are on the end of the Dreyfus model you told. Like, you have intuition, so you don't know how to verbalize some things. So there is the program, there is a lot of tools, but do you teach the teachers?
To be honest, we don't have a formal process, but I've been doing it with Solange and with Baris. I don't know. I haven't. I went with the flow, I suppose. I asked them if they wanted to do it. Then we went through the materials together. I give them feedback, and then I sit with them. So and give them feedback every day after the class they teach. That's what I've been doing. But
So you also improved as a teacher because of the feedback. So,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was going to add that at the end of each apprenticeship program, each promotion, actually the apprentices themselves, the graduates, they give feedback on the whole process. You know, they give feedback. They say, "Oh, maybe this material was not covered well enough, or this lacked," and etc., etc. And then we build on that feedback to improve the program for the next apprentices. Yeah, and this is why it's very important also to have the previous apprentices teaching, because then they bring that new information to the program as well. Oh, question.
So you weren't sure about success, about how successful it was, and I wondered, have you considered any metrics, any way of defining value and then measuring it to, you know, for instance, maybe the cost of recruitment versus the cost of training, or the retention, how many of these trainees you retain, or some way of measuring?
we wanted to do that, but we haven't had the time. This slide about is it worth the money? We wanted to give an answer more, but we haven't yet. But we will try for the next round of this presentation.
Yeah.
And also, these are our contacts. If, for example, if you want, you can send us this question, and I will answer as soon as we get to make the calculation.
Any other one?
Okay. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.